get my 6. Tell you what, I'm going around the Homestead this morning getting my own 6. I put up more of our gifted security cameras in some pretty interesting areas, and I've got so many of these in a couple of spots of particular interest, I'm able to have one camera watching the other because we have had cameras disappear. So it's morning, that's what I'm doing this morning, but I'm a little riled right now, and it has to do with the insanity of society. And I feel like I've got to come out and say a few things. I'm going to do my best to say these things in a way that they are allowable on social media. And I will not be surprised if this video isn't banned by the end of the day. I got a letter from one of our viewers who nailed it. And immediately after reading this letter, I did something that I've trained myself not to do. I read a media article. I have, an email address that is served through a mainstream media outlet, so I have to go to their homepage to click on the icon to go to my mail, and something just caught my eyes. I'll explain here in a minute, because I was like, it caught my eyes, and so I read the article. And I thought, this is exactly what this viewer just said in the letter. I've got to talk about this. Do people not see this? Do people not see this insanity? This is it. Susan Howe, Yakima, Washington. Wow, this is ironic. Susan, big shout out. I know all about Yakima. I was in the Washington Army National Guard, and I deployed to Iraq in 08 and 09 with them. And the Washington State headquarters for the Washington State Army National Guard is in Yakima. So just know, Susan, I've spent some time in that beautiful desert that surrounds your home, and I've driven through those beautiful apple orchards. So many of the apples we eat from all over the United States and around the world come from Yakima. Beautiful area, beautiful. It's amazing. I was always amazed how you could be standing there in the desert, sweating like crazy. We'd have our gear on training, hot as can be, and you turn around, you can see those snow-covered mountaintops. Gorgeous area. I'm going to share Susan's letter with you. I'm going to explain how it came to be, and I'm going to tell you about that stuff I saw on the internet today. I can only control what I say. I can't control how you take what I say. But folks, we have got to recognize this insanity for what it is and stop it, okay? She called me Mr. Lake. That's my dad. That's not me. Kevin. Then she said Kevin in parentheses. Okay, I like that better. Thank you for sending me The Lunatic. I sat down and read it yesterday. By the way, and guys, this ties in and this relates. And FYI, there's only 10 of these left on Etsy right now, available with autographs. Links in the description box below. Amazon's got them on back order. They're selling out so quick. Okay, at first it made me feel like I was reading some of the more contentious social media posts. It gave me that sick sort of feeling one gets from all the negativity. That was the intentions. So, okay, for the first 80% of the book. But then Timothy, that's the name of the main character in the book, as he became familiar and started to come to life, began affecting me differently. Rather than some low-life, troglodyte or whatever, with serious issues, he characterized the shadow side within us all. This was the point. I'm glad Susan got it. I'm telling you guys, this will change the way you see the world. It'll change the way you perceive what you see. That's what it'll change. All right, but then Timothy, as he became familiar, wait, I just read that. Okay, perhaps acknowledging that shadow, this dark shadow that's in all of us. It's in us all. We have to fight it. But there's a big conglomerate out there that wants to prey on this shadow that's in all of us. You're going to get it. Okay, I'm not giving the end away of the book, but you're going to get it. Perhaps acknowledging that shadow is what made me queasy. But then, as I realized what Timothy could teach, my vibration shifted. I'm basically showcasing the insanity, the lunacy of where we are today with the main character and his views and the perceptions of what he sees in here. And then it comes and smacks you in the face when you see the reality in the last 20% of the book. Okay? Our world is just perception. Susan in Yakima gets it. In fact, it is questionable whether or not objective reality exists. Objective reality. You know what that's another one-word term for that is? Logic. We've thrown it away, folks. We've thrown it away. Okay? Stopping hating is a great start. Heck yeah, it is. Forgiveness is paramount to gaining clarity, and this also means forgiving ourselves, which is true, and we are often the hardest and the last people we ever forgive. Authenticity is a challenge. Yeah, because so many people get offended by it if you have it. But what is the point if we don't embrace our own unique divine selves? Exactly, which is what Mr. Timothy, the lunatic, refused to do his whole life because of how other people would perceive what they saw. Drove him nuts. And now as a society, we are joining him because it's the cool thing to do. It's the end thing to be. A lunatic. Thank you for the synchronicity. I began my spiritual awakening 2 years ago. Pieces of the puzzle keep floating in. I've talked about this so many times. For us to objectively understand what we are seeing or perceiving in its reality, in its logical, actual, factual state, we must unlearn everything we have erroneously been taught, and we must relearn correctly. Here's hoping Dearly and Daniel are home by the time you receive this or close to it. And they are. They're home now. They've been home for 3 weeks. They were in the Philippines for 3 months. See if you can get Dearly to get a complete, recommended Dearly go get a checkup after being over there for 3 months. Then she says, you see, I have stories too. Maybe someday I can write them, as you are encouraging by example. Right now, only one other person in my life wholeheartedly believes me because her stories are equally bizarre. We tend to find each other. Yes, now I know what your channel is all about. Hey, Susan, thank you, but could you enlighten the rest of us? Because we still don't know what the hell this channel's about. Well, and then she says, P.S. Never again will I get your 6 without expecting to see Sally. Sasquatch is ruined for me forever. Guys, I'm telling you, we have got to stop and think, and we have got to see every single human being as a human being, period. Okay? Here's the crazy stuff I read today. It was from an interview from Joe Rogan. No, I didn't watch the interview, but I read the media article based upon the interview. I think Mr. Rogan is still on YouTube, so maybe they will keep this video up. I don't know. Maybe we are allowed to talk about these things. But it was an interview with a very beautiful 27-year-old Korean lady. Now you know why it caught my attention. I mean, I'm like going to check my email, and here's this gorgeous woman. I'm like, wow, who's that? I thought maybe it's a movie star with a new movie coming out. She's beautiful. So I read the headline. Here's what happened. Here's the story. Joe Rogan interviewed this lady. She and her family defected from North Korea. North Korea. Communist rule, closed society. They were able to get out. They came to America because they wanted to enjoy that big, healthy dose of freedom that we all have, right? Now, this big, healthy dose of freedom is perceived in different ways by different people. But here's how things went down. It was about a year ago. I forget exactly where it was. And you guys can Google this. You can go read it. You can watch the interview. I'm not making this stuff up. But listen to this lunacy. This woman and her child and her nanny, child's nanny, were out for a walk in their city. Some riots were going on, or some riots broke out or something. This 27-year-old Korean lady was grabbed and robbed by 3 people, 3 women. They grabbed her, they robbed her, they took her purse. She wasn't going to have it. She grabbed one of the women, okay, who took her stuff, got out her cell phone and started to call the police. And then bystanders came in and detained this woman who was being robbed with her nanny and her kid, and told her they would not let her call the police because her calling the police was racist. Because the 3 women that robbed her were black. You talk about insanity. This woman that was robbed did not view the women who were robbing her as if they were maybe going to do something illegal because of the color of their skin. She perceived as if they were robbing her because they robbed her. They took her stuff. These bystanders, who she said in the interview were white people, were calling her racist, wouldn't let her call the cops. The woman broke away from her and got away. And she said at one point there was like a middle-aged white woman with her child pointing at her saying, "Look, I want you to get a good look at her. That's what a racist looks like." The woman was being robbed, disallowed to call the police because she was detained, and being pointed out as the billboard, poster board example of what a racist looks like to a child from its mother. That happened about a year ago. Today, the 29-year-old woman, who just happened to be black, she did not rob this woman because of the color of her skin. She did not rob the victim because of the color of her skin. The woman that got robbed was a victim of robbery, and the woman who robbed her, and the 3 women, were robbers. Period. The 29-year-old woman that robbed her, they were able to find her because of the spending on the credit card from the Korean lady's credit card. She's serving 2 years in prison. She's serving 2 years in prison for what she did. And it had nothing to do with the color of her skin. It had to do with the choice she made, the activity she carried out. How insane is it that those bystanders got in the way to protect the attacker, the criminal, and didn't help the victim, but demonized the victim? What kind of people or what kind of person would do this? A lunatic. An absolute, total lunatic. That's insane. Absolutely insane. But Susan in Yakima gets it. Everybody who's reading the book gets it. Shout out to my buddy Gary. Bless his heart. He wanted to come hang out with me while Darely was gone. He messaged me a couple days after she left. I said, "Hey, buddy, I appreciate you reaching out, but I got 2 months of my family being gone where I can get the first full-length novel I've written in 4 years written without interruptions. And the message in this book is so important. I've got to get this done. Please don't come by." I hated saying that to one of the best friends I've ever had. This guy's supportive. He's a great friend. So we went over to see him a couple days ago, and I took him an autographed copy of this for free, and I gave it to him. It's like, hey, here's proof, bro. I wasn't blowing you off. I had a mission. I had a job. We went back the next day, and he had actually read it in one night, and he was amazed. He agreed that I nailed it, and I asked him if he saw it coming, and you those of you who have read it know what I'm talking about. He said no, he didn't, but he felt like myself and like Susan and like anybody else who feels that that story I just told you about the Joe Rogan interview is absolute insanity, gets it. This is where we are, folks, and we better fix it. There's not much mind left in our society to lose. If we lose it all, it's gone forever.